Are you someone who doesn't bend to the will of the conventional wisdom? Someone who rebels, who questions authority, who doesn't just watch the mainstream media, go along with all the bandwagon mentality, and vote for it, accept it, enable it.
Also adds tens of billions of dollars for Border Patrol. So just get your head around this. ICE now has more funding than the FBI, DEA, ATF, Marshals, and the Bureau of Prisons combined. And based on analysis, that makes it the largest federal law enforcement agency in the history of the United States of America.
If you are a free-thinking, innovative, totally open-minded person, this is Tommy Nation Politics Podcast, and I'm your host, Tommy.
Hey guys,
We're the new
Tommy
independent progressive media that's coming at you with choices, with real substantial news, political commentary, and some hard-hitting truth.
But he left one final warning.
1984 is, I believe, a quite terrifying masterpiece. So terrifying, in fact, I don't think I should like to read another like it.
I am not absolutely dissatisfied with it. I think it is a good idea, but the execution would have been better if I had not been under the influence of TB when I wrote it.
You once claimed that you have an ability to face unpleasant facts. Is that what you've demonstrated in 1984 by drawing an accurate portrait of the future?
I think that allowing for the book being, after all, a parody, something like 1984 could actually happen. This is the direction the world is going in at the present time. In our world, there will be no emotions except fear, rage, triumph, and self-abasement. The sex instinct will be eradicated. We shall abolish the orgasm. There will be no loyalty except loyalty to the party. But always there will be the intoxication of power. Always, at every moment, there will be the thrill of victory, the sensation of trampling on an enemy who is helpless. If you want a picture of the future, imagine a boot stamping on a human face forever. The moral to be drawn from this dangerous nightmare situation is a simple one. Don't let it happen. It depends on you.
We're hearing from Ghislaine Maxwell, Jeffrey Epstein's former girlfriend and the only person convicted in connection to his case. The Department of Justice releasing audio and transcripts from her highly unusual interview with the top official. ABC's investigative reporter, Olivia Rubin, has the latest.
New recordings revealing exactly what Jeffrey Epstein's longtime associate, Ghislaine Maxwell, told the Justice Department behind closed doors about President Trump.
I never witnessed the president in any inappropriate setting in any way. The president was never inappropriate with anybody. In the times that I was with him, he was a gentleman in all respects.
Maxwell also shooting down a conspiracy theory pushed by some of Trump's own appointees that Epstein kept a so-called client list.
There's no list. There's never been a list.
And you never heard Mr. Epstein talk about such a list?
Never.
Those comments made during a two-day meeting in Florida last month with the number 2 at the Justice Department, Todd Blanche, formerly Trump's personal attorney. The department now releasing that recording in full. Blanche questioning Maxwell as the Trump administration faced public outcry over its failure to release more information on the Epstein case. The New York Times reporting the decision came after Trump was informed his name was in those files. Trump now saying he wants it all out there, denying any wrongdoing. The appearance of a name in the Epstein files is not evidence of illicit activity.
I'm in support of keeping it totally open.
During her interview, Maxwell also shooting down claims about another politician, former President Bill Clinton. Despite allegations, including by Trump, she said Clinton never visited Epstein's now infamous private island in the Caribbean.
You're not aware of President Clinton ever going to the island?
He never did. absolutely never went, and I can be sure of that.
But long before this meeting, the Department of Justice previously warned that Maxwell, now serving a 20-year prison sentence for sex trafficking, was not to be trusted. In 2022, they told a judge that Maxwell, quote, has lied repeatedly about her crimes.
Woody Allen. I want to talk about this because a lot of things have been coming up with Woody Allen. And, you know, Vinny brought a video out. Vinny, if you want to even read the story with Woody Allen, I think it's on page 8. Take the lead on that.
I'm pretty sure Woody knows something
and go from there.
Yeah, okay. So the Wall Street Journal published an analysis of recently released documents that provided the, details of Jeffrey Epstein contacts with high-profile individuals from 2008 with the guilty pleas to soliciting and procuring a minor for prostitution, all right? They included thousands of pages of emails, schedules from 2013 to 2017, which show the nature of the frequency of these Epstein's contacts with an array of powerful people. They included Lawrence Summers, a former Treasury Secretary and one-time Harvard University president, who met with Epstein and Harvard after Harvard decided it would no longer accept his donations, and Woody Allen, Oscar-winning movie director who attended dozens of dinners with his wife, Soon-Yi, who's his adopted daughter, and he's 87. She's 87, and he's 87. She's 52. So like almost a 40-year.
It's
it's disgusting. And at Epstein's mansion, and invited Epstein to film screenings. Other figures include billionaire venture capitalist and LinkedIn co-founder Reid Hoffman, former Israeli Prime Minister Ehud Barak, and Leon Black, billionaire co-founder of private equity giant Apollo Global Management. Just reading up, and then I saw a clip of Mia Farrow, who was, she adopted her, and
Soon-Yi Previn and her daughter Dylan Farrow was molested.
Molested, and when you're doing this type of research, I came up to a clip of the 90s of a leaked, like a tapped.
I haven't listened to it, but I've heard of it.
So, and I showed it to Pat yesterday. I got emotional in this prep meeting because it's Mia Farrow and Woody Allen's on the phone, and she's telling.
Disturbing.
It's I'm gonna get emotional right now. She's crying, mind you. This is her adopted daughter, and describing what the rape and the abuse that he did to a 7-year-old girl. And Pat heard this, and he was in shock. We had to hear it twice. So if it's all right, this is a tapped phone call from Woody Allen talking to Mia Farrow, and they're talking about Dylan, who was the 7-year-old at the time, and what she went through.
He said, "You will not let me get it. You have to. It's way beyond that now. What you've done to Suni, what you've done to Dylan, what you've done to Dylan. Dylan's a baby. How could you do that to her? I don't know anything of the kind. I know what Dylan tells me. You've told me nothing but lies. Dylan tells the truth inconsistently." "No, I don't know that, Woody. I've always been worried about you and Dylan. And I didn't know the doctor had to report this to the authorities. I didn't know that. I went just to be sure she was all right. And she's not all right, Woody. She walks around the house holding her vagina. She sleeps with me. She's scared of you. And you hurt her. And I feel pretty guilty myself that I wasn't there to protect her."
So, without further ado, let's talk about the issues. The issues of our nation. It's not a really good place we're in America right now. We've had a lot of, let's just say, usurpation of the reins of government and power of the people, and horrifying details about the abuse of powers, the abuse of authority, and the abuse of not so nice people, call them puppets of the rich, Democrats and Republicans, have culminated into a nation ruled by pigs, owned by wolves, and I guess populated by sheep.
Woody Allen. I want to talk about this because a lot of things have been coming up with Woody Allen, and you know, Vinny brought a video out. Vinny, if you want to even read the story with Woody Allen, I think it's on page 8. Take the lead on that.
I'm pretty sure Woody knows something.
And go from there.
Yeah, okay, so the Wall Street Journal published an analysis of recently released documents that provided the details of
journals reporting, because it's just if they ask for
people that want to be like you.
well,
you may not even
like
know
I say,
this.
the first step is to get angry.
Yep.
So many Americans have been, we're stimulated all this stuff with like these action movies and death and sex and whatever. The first step is to like stop being so desensitized and get angry.
That was Whitney Webb, who has been a professional writer, researcher, and journalist since 2016. She's written for several websites and from 2017 to 2020 was a staff writer and senior investigative reporter for Mint Press News. She currently writes for The Last American Vagabond and hosts an independent podcast called Unlimited Hangout. You can support her work directly on Patreon. But
yeah, that is so disturbing.
Yeah, and you hear something like that, I can't. It's just, and these people, nothing happens, Pat, no jail. Woody Allen's walking around. This poor girl's ruined for her whole life. That Epstein Island, all those girls, all those kids, no accountability. These people just walk, nothing happens. Two people got in trouble.
Cindy McCain in January 2020 she was in front of a stadium full of people. She said, we all knew what Jeffrey Epstein was doing.
Whitney Webb brings up a lot of interesting themes in our country. And the themes are that the people of the United States, have not formed a more perfect union. I think we've abdicated that duty. We had a duty to do that, promote the general welfare, secure the blessings of liberty to ourselves and our posterity, and to provide for the common defense. The common defense would be a defense defending children, in my opinion. But it seems we are not able to promote the general welfare. We're not able to provide for a common defense. We're not able to secure the blessings of liberty to ourselves and our posterity. We've abdicated those duties, and we've given those duties directly into the hands of the tyrants, the usurpers of the reins of government, that Washington, in his farewell address, he really did put the nail on the head with these political parties will usurp the reins of government and carve for themselves from the very engines that which brought them to unjust dominion and tyranny, unlike we've seen since King George III, and so they have, guys. And in the rise of the tyranny of the Democrats and Republicans, we have, amid an Epstein storm, new Israel link. Israel official arrested in U.S. flees to Gaza. Well, he flees to Israel. He was caught in a child sexting operation. And so Carlson's Epstein Mossad claims,
moreover, it's extremely obvious to anyone who watches that this
harken
guy
back to
has
me,
direct connections to a foreign government. Now, no one's allowed to say that that foreign government is Israel because we have been somehow cowed into thinking that that's naughty. There is nothing wrong with saying that.
why do we think that that's naughty, guys? Pam Bondi did a cover-up. Kash Patel did a cover-up on a child sex predator who fled to Israel from the United States of America. And that's just plain what it is, guys. An Israeli official was arrested in an undercover child sexting operation in Nevada, Axios reported. And then his name was Tom Alexandrovich. He's a senior Israeli cybersecurity official. He posted $10,000 bail after he was caught in a child sexting operation in Las Vegas, and he fled to Israel. He wasn't made to appear before a judge. He just fled, guys. Rules for thee, not for me. After Alexandrovich escaped, questions were raised, and the Clark County District Attorney said the handling of the case was standard. That's what Axios reported. What standards are these, guys? The United States Department of Justice denied that the U.S. government intervened in the matter. But Attorney General Shatta, or acting U.S. Attorney General, criticized handling of the case by local officials, and was pretty much solely involved in the helping facilitate the escape of the child sex predator back to Israel. Shatta reportedly also said that the Attorney General Bondi was outraged by the developments, but had nothing to do with the decision. This is interesting, guys, because Bondi reportedly placed a call to the FBI Director Kash Patel in connection with the case and got all the information that an Attorney General would need, such as the list of suspects and the alleged crimes. And meanwhile, the MAGA influencers, they've expressed nothing that could be conveyed as of a disappointment with Donald Trump and the DOJ under his administration. It's interesting. Guys, what's going on here? Why would the United States allow a child sex predator to flee back to Israel? He was outraged by the developments, but had nothing to do with the decision. This is interesting, guys, because Bondi reportedly placed a call to the FBI Director Kash Patel in connection with the case and got all the information that an Attorney General would need, such as the list of suspects and the alleged crimes. And meanwhile, the MAGA influencers, they've expressed nothing that could be conveyed as of a disappointment with Donald Trump and the DOJ under his administration. It's interesting, guys. What's going on here? Why would the United States allow a child sex predator to flee back to Israel unless we were not governed by leaders? We were governed by monsters. We were governed by predators, wolves, pigs. The Epstein list scandal continues to develop as highlights are breaking every day, with Ghislaine Maxwell with the DOJ, with the FBI releasing a memo on July 6th claiming Epstein didn't have a celebrity client list. And now it seems like there's nothing to see here. And that's what the DOJ wants you to believe, anyway.
Yeah. All these people knew. So all these people, like, after he was arrested, acting like, oh, yeah, well, I didn't know, and it was just money this. I mean, I can't. This is why I get frustrated with the Wall Street Journal's reporting, because it's just like, they didn't even mention Woody Allen, how he married Soon-Yi Previn. They don't mention Dylan Farrow at all. Noam Chomsky gets called out on it. He's supposed to be this progressive icon, and he's like, Woody Allen's a great artist.
Yeah.
Don't ask me about my evening with a great artist and a convicted pedophile.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just, it's disgusting. And frankly, in my book, I talk about how these types of operations, whether it's Epstein, whether it's the Franklin scandal, this stuff has been going on for a really long time. And even people that are ex-CIA, like John Kiriakou, have said, like, yeah, like when we want to, recruit a source, if they ask for a kid to sexually abuse, we give it to them.
And moreover, it's extremely obvious to anyone who watches that this guy had direct connections to a foreign government. Now, no one's allowed to say that that foreign government is Israel, because we have been somehow cowed into thinking that that's naughty. There is nothing wrong with saying that.
Why do we do that? And this is why I get, it's so frustrating, because Americans have been sold a vision of their government, a vision of their intelligence community and military that is so divorced from this. And I mean, I just think it's really time that, do we really represent the values that we project around the world that we're supposed to have internalized? Or no, I don't think we do, because we've allowed our country to be run by literal monsters and criminals, and people act like it's fine. And, as long as we act like, oh, well, there's nothing I can do about it. No, there is stuff you can do about it. And the first step is to get angry.
Hey guys, this is Tommy with Tommy Nation Politics. How's everyone doing today? Tommy Nation Politics. But we here at Tommy Nation Politics think something differently. We don't believe in bullshit, guys. We believe in courage, compassion, revolution, freedom, life, liberty, and happiness. And I'll be damned if some memo is going to tell me that we cannot take the victims and their horrible, crimes against them. And we cannot take the chains of those crimes, and we cannot break those chains, guys. Here at Tommy Nation Politics, we seek life, liberty, and happiness. We are a new, independent, progressive media, and we will break the chains. We will call to action all of you to do the same.
Underneath the sky so bizarre, dreams are rising up from where we hide. Silent whispers break like doves fly. Hearts are free now, ready for the fight. Shackles broke beneath the weight of truth. Old land singing songs of golden youth. From the ashes rise, the voices loud. We stand tall, we're breaking through the cloud. Shackles broke.
Goldwater, Republican candidate for President of the United States. Ladies and gentlemen, we take pride in presenting a thoughtful address by Ronald Reagan. Mr. Reagan.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you and good evening. The sponsor has been identified, but unlike most television programs, the performer hasn't been provided with a script. As a matter of fact, I have been permitted to choose my own words and discuss my own ideas regarding the choice that we face in the next few weeks. I have spent most of my life as a Democrat. I recently have seen fit to follow another course. I believe that the issues confronting us cross party lines. Now, one side in this campaign has been telling us that the issues of this election are the maintenance of peace and prosperity. The line has been used, we've never had it so good. But I have an uncomfortable feeling that this prosperity isn't something on which we can base our hopes for the future. No nation in history has ever survived a tax burden that reached a third of its national income. Today, 37 cents out of every dollar earned in this country is the tax collector's share.
Influence laws. Imagine a society where the wealthiest few don't just influence laws, they write them. Where they don't just benefit from policies, they create them. Where state power isn't just swayed by wealth, it's wielded by it. Sounds familiar? Well, over 2,300 years ago, in his great work, Politics, Aristotle identified a system of government he called oligarchy, rule by the wealthy few. Based on his studies of history and politics, he described how this system arises, how it maintains power, and why it's inherently unstable. As you read Aristotle's description of oligarchy, you might start to recognize some unsettling parallels to your own society today. Group from abusing the other.
It's a reality. By tearing down the power, we might just... It's a reality.
Now, for each of these, Aristotle identified a corresponding perverted form, a government that shares similarities with its true counterpart, but has deviated from the path of virtue and common good. Monarchy's corrupt twin is tyranny, as I presented in a previous video, and democracy is seen by Aristotle as the perverted form of polity. It's ruled by the masses, but without the legal limits of the polity, where decisions are driven by the majority's desires rather than the common good. For Aristotle, this often leads to demagoguery, instability, and the erosion of justice. And finally, we come to oligarchy. As Aristotle notes, the poor and the rich fight with each other, and whichever side wins doesn't set up a fair or popular government. Instead, they see political power as their prize for winning, and one side sets up democracy, while the other sets up an oligarchy. Remember, aristocracy is ruled by the aristos, or the best. Oligarchy, on the other hand, is a perversion of this ideal. In an oligarchy, focus shifts from the welfare of the community to the interests of the rulers themselves.
We're living in a time when the duopoly is iron grip on our lives. They threaten the sovereignty of our country, our rights to think freely, to feel, and to demand justice, social justice, natural justice, no justice here. And with no justice, no peace. Without our right to demand justice on our own terms, it's not enough to pick A or B, Democrat or Republican anymore, guys. We must shatter this two-party straitjacket and craft a politics of radical free thought, compassion, and action. Today, we're diving into the latest foreign and domestic policy moves that shape our world, expose hypocrisy, and galvanize our fight for collective liberation. But in this commentary today, I want us to hear the words of others that came before us for better wisdom and better context. We must choose, guys, now to break the chains of duopoly, to build independent movements, to reclaim our towns, our states, our Congress, and our future, to reject the false choice between two brands of the same empire. Our rendezvous with destiny is not to preserve the last best hope or a lesser of evils. No, guys, it's not a slogan. It's a reality. By tearing down the power from the hands of the few and returning it to the many, we might just have salvation in the hands of not a hero. A hero doesn't have to come for us, guys. We might actually be the salvation that we were looking for in the first place. What do you think of that? Let me know, guys. www.TommyNationPolitics.com, Facebook.com/TommyNationPolitics, or YouTube.com/TommyNationPolitics. We also have a Discord server. We're also on Trovo, Twitch, anywhere you can find podcasts. And I hope you guys like, share, subscribe on all the various podcasts, because we need to be free-thinking, innovative, and totally open-minded right now. We can't be a nation of sheep ruled by pigs, owned by wolves. Not anymore. Free thought, guys. Freedom of the people. We the people. Beautiful souls, fierce truth seekers. I'm your host, Tommy, with Tommy Nation Politics. And I'm trying to come at you from some place of a neutral area. You might think that it's an independent area since it's not a Democrat or Republican area. But be that as it may, guys, the truth doesn't take sides and it doesn't vote partisan. It's here telling you that we all need to dream of a world where we can thrive without the corporate overlords pulling the strings. The rich rule right now. The oligarchy is here. And what are you going to do about it? The first thing to do about it, guys, if you don't think you can do anything about it, the first thing to do about it, I would say, would be to get angry, at least. Are you angry yet?
It's no longer about who is most capable or most dedicated to the common good, but about who has the most money or property. In aristocracy, leaders are chosen based on their ability to govern well and their commitment to the public interest. In oligarchy, the path to power is paved with gold, and the purpose of rule becomes the preservation and expansion of the ruler's wealth and influence. This transformation doesn't happen overnight. It's a gradual process from usually polity, democracy, or aristocracy, and often subtle at first. Perhaps wealth starts as just one factor among many in selecting leaders, but over time, it becomes the dominant or even sole criterion. Or maybe virtuous leaders slowly begin to prioritize their own interests over those of the community. Aristotle noted that oligarchies, like tyrannies, are forms of government where power is used to benefit those in control rather than the broader community. So both systems are self-serving, but while tyranny is ruled by one person and his close circle, an oligarchy is ruled by a few more individuals. But more importantly, tyrants often rely on military force, whereas oligarchs first and foremost gain and maintain their power through their wealth. This is sometimes written into the law, but often it's just based on informal influence, which leads to laws and policies that favor the wealthy.
Imagine being able to build anything.
Imagine being able to afford groceries and the cost of living. Imagine wages rising, guys. Imagine we reclaiming us, we the people reclaiming the power enshrined in the Constitution of our nation. Sovereign once more. Ready to promote the general welfare, secure the blessings of liberty to ourselves and our posterity. And so, Tommy Nation Politics Podcast audience, it's time for the speech. A time for choosing speech. And this is August 24th, 2025. The speech is what Ronald Reagan called his time for choosing speech. Y'all heard a little bit of it. I played a little bit of it in the background. It was a pivotal turning point in Ronald Reagan's life. He began a long side career of public speaking as his acting career closed out. He traveled across the country meeting Lions clubs, Rotary clubs, chambers of commerce, any other civic-minded local groups. This continued and intensified during his service as the General Electric spokesperson. Yes, he was the General Electric spokesperson, guys. He was a brand ambassador. He was a lot of things, guys. He was definitely a darling of the corporatocracy and the venture capitalists in the Industrial Revolution who compounded wealth into an income inequality we now see in the modern era, not seen since the Gilded Age. The speech was delivered from Ronald Reagan in various forms to different audiences, and each word was honed, measured, and memorized. He really had a stump speech, just like every other president. They all had it. But during the 1964 presidential campaign, Republican Party officials in California, who were Reagan's powerful message and delivery consultants, they asked him to film a speech on behalf of the Republican candidate, Barry Goldwater. And the speech was aired on October 27th, 1964. And it was electrifying. Donations to the Republican Party and candidates increased dramatically. The Republican Party took note and they targeted Reagan as a candidate from that point forward. He agreed in 1966 to run for governor of California. He won 2 terms, and eventually, we know he won the presidency. So, as we listen to a little bit of Reagan's speech, he talks about taxes. But folks, if you're new here, buckle up, because taxes are not the problem anymore. Taxes are not even the tip of the iceberg. We don't do talking points from the duopolies playbook. We smash through the groupthink, champion the sovereign individual, and call out the systemic rot that's choking our freedoms. We're talking about free thought over fear-mongering, individual sovereignty over sheep-like groupthink, and straight-up social justice activism that doesn't bow to red or blue. Puppet masters. That's what they are. Puppets of the rich. In the spirit of this new time for choosing, I give you my version of Reagan's classical political speech, but remade and fully redrafted. Progressive, innovative, and revolutionary, to illuminate for the present time the consequential, substantial, stark, difficult choices all Americans must make today. All right, so let's break this into a little bit down of a modern left-leaning kind of thing. So let's try to reframe this Reagan speech. Instead of taxes, we're going to talk about reclaiming we the people's sovereignty or surrendering it to a duopoly. So Reagan began with a personal note, or trying to establish credibility and relatability. You all know who I am. And I've spent most of my life, guys, as a middle-class American worker. So my life is not as different as yours. The moment of a historic crossroads, a time for choosing, of its existential consequences, is now at our door. And we've got to make that choice, whether it be hard, difficult, unpopular. The choice is not merely political, guys. It's a moral and civilizational stand. It's a rendezvous with destiny. There's something that reduces the decision to a stark up or down, freedom versus totalitarianism choice. And it's not me. It's the propaganda that has polarized the country into forgetting the principles and values that held us in common bonds, united as Americans. So I make an emotional appeal. I implore you, out of patriotism, out of the fear of loss of our country and our principles and values, to take these historical analogies that I'm trying to use to buttress my argument and mobilize yourselves with your free thinking and your moral clarity and your decisive action. The preservation of individual liberty against the encroachment of centralized government is, at this moment, the most important fight that you could possibly have. It is the same fight that our founding fathers fought in 1776. The government has overreached, guys, many, many times over. You could say that they've started their accelerated overreach after we were attacked on 9/11, and they formed a Patriot Act that curbed and limited the writ of habeas corpus and our constitutional liberties. But it didn't really stop there, guys. They did enhanced interrogations. They did drone strikes on American citizens without warrants, without due process. And now they form a government where they are building detention facilities all over this country and employing numerous people in a weaponized Homeland Security agency to lock up illegal immigrants and deport them from our country. Are they using due process to do this? Not so much. Other courts fighting in the separation of powers to make sure that we abide with the promises of the Constitution? Well, they're trying to, guys. But at the end of the day, it's not really the judicial, legislative, or who was that guy? The judicial, legislative, or executive branch who's in charge. It's us. And there's a moral duty to resist appeasement and complacency in promoting the general welfare, securing the blessings of liberty, doing the things that our founding fathers told us to do to make sure that this was going to be a more perfect union. And so now that we've abdicated for so long these responsibilities, the urgency of the moment is here. And history will judge inaction not only harshly, but extremely, extremely delicately. Because we have either an essential message here in America, guys. This is a message that stands at a divisive moment in a polarized country to either choose self-government and liberty or to side with dependency, tyranny, and authority. That's right, guys. You either have individual self-government or you have fascist authority. These are the choices that we have now made with this duopoly political system. In 1964, this was a conservative rallying cry against the New Deal, Great Society liberalism. That's why Reagan talked about taxes. He wanted to frame it as some kind of creeping socialism. But if we lose freedom, guys, if we lose liberty, if we lose the pursuit of happiness, because we are going to be massively incarcerating more people per capita than any other country, if we lose our freedom, there's no place to escape to. Where are we going to be seeking asylum? Where are we going to go? So I want to reframe the conversation, guys. Instead of thinking about who's going to save you in the midterms, the Democratic Party or the Republican Tea Party, or whoever you think is going to save, whoever you think your hero is. The duopoly is the villain. We, the people, are the sovereign, rightful heirs. We have the birthright of citizenship to the American dream, not them. And so this is a time for choosing, guys. The people versus the duopoly. My friends, we are again at a crossroads, a time for choosing. Not between left and right, not between red and blue, but between reclaiming the birthright of we the people or surrendering every last shred of our liberty to the two-headed hydra we call the Democratic and Republican parties. I've watched both sides. Both sides of this duopoly trade power like a rigged game of cards, each pretending to be your champion, the president of law and order, the president of all people. Yeah, vote for me or you ain't black. But while selling your future to the highest bidder, they convince us that our only choice is which corporate donor gets to write the laws. Because their donors, their campaign finance contributors, are the ones that are writing the laws. When they give them contributions in the amounts of millions of dollars to run for office. That kind of speech, guys, is not equal. We don't all have millions of dollars. So if money is speech, as Citizens United determined. If money is speech, then realize, guys, that some of us have more speech than others. And that means we don't have equality. So, which war gets funded? Which freedoms get bargained away this election cycle? Which liberties do we curtail? Which rights of habeas corpus do we postpone? What Guantanamo Bay do we build this time? What enhanced interrogations do we try to excuse for the next administration? I mean, this statement of stakes, guys, this is a statement of stakes. This is not politics as usual. I just want to let you guys know that things have changed. This is not politics as usual. We're not talking about tax cuts anymore. This is the final auction of the American experiment. If we hand over the reins now, there will be no next time to take them back. There will be no midterms. The duopoly's goal is simple: consolidate power, privatize profit, socialize loss, and keep you distracted with culture wars while they loot the treasury, while they loot your tax dollars and your social security fund and your mortgage and your children's future. They've turned healthcare into a casino, guys, with this Affordable Care Act. Did you know that? Did you know that you're all now in a casino? You're all now at a, what do they call it, a marketplace? Well, that was very capitalist of you, Mr. Obama, where Big Pharma can always win, and they have government contracts with our government. And so who are our politicians listening to, us or them? It really is just that kind of logic, guys. They've militarized foreign policy into a permanent war economy. Why? Well, Boeing, Raytheon, and Lockheed Martin are their donors. Did you donate millions of dollars to their campaign finance contribution funds? Then why are they listening to you? Where peace is bad for business, guys, Lockheed Martin can find a way. So they've allowed billionaires to buy elections while criminalizing grassroots dissent. We can all remember when Barack Obama facilitated the passing of that bailout because these rich, arrogant banks were too big to fail, even though they literally bet against you, the American people, and that's why they lost. But even though they bet against you, even though they tried to foreclose on homes and did foreclose on 3.1 million families, homeless, that year. Did you all know that? They gutted labor rights. This time, with this Trump administration, they've gutted environmental protection acts with this big, beautiful bill and public education, all while telling you it's for your own good. We've got to ramp up defense spending. Why? I guess more wars, because Lockheed Martin, Raytheon, and Boeing need to raise their stocks. So the point where we're pointing to the other party and saying, at least we're not them, I mean, that's not a healthy democracy position. That's not an adult, mature position either. I think that's a hostage situation. That's what I think it is. So the founders, they were flawed, of course. Thomas Jefferson was a slave owner. But as flawed as they were, they understood one thing. Power belongs to the people, and government is merely its steward. So today, that stewardship has been stolen. The duopoly treats your rights and privileges like it's something that they can just revoke, replace, repeal. And so compliance with this government, with this tyranny, that's enabling a fascist dystopian that's going to remove all hints, all clues of democracy. And our communities, guys, what is going to be the destiny of our communities? They're going to be gone. Where freedom means that the right to choose which corporate logo governs you exists, well, where does the community exist? I think that communities are going to go down as they have, as mass shootings have ramped up, right? as empathy has really just disappeared, as compassion has slipped away from the personalities and perspectives of all of the communities nationwide. And why, guys? It's not because the Bible's out of schools. It's not because we're bad people. It's because we're lazy people. We've abdicated our duties to promote the general welfare, like I said. And we've put those powers in the hands of Democrats and Republicans, two political parties that did not exist at the time of the Constitution formation. They were not supposed to have these responsibilities. Yet we've given it to them. And this duopoly's rule of absolute totalitarian expansion of government has reduced all of your liberties, all of your choices, and they've reduced you to a consumer of propaganda, and a payer of debts, a payer of taxes too. And did you ever agree to this, or did you just vote for the other party because the other one was bad? I mean, guys, it's time to make a choice. The time to choose is now. And if we lose our freedom to self-govern here, there's no place to escape. There's no place to seek asylum. This is the last stand, not for a party, but for the idea that ordinary people can rule themselves without kings, without dictators, without corporate overlords, without political parties. We must choose now to break the chains of the duopoly, to build independent movements, to reclaim our towns, reclaim our future, our states, our communities. Between two brands of the same empire or us is the choice. And our rendezvous with destiny is not preserve the last best hope of man on earth as a slogan, but to make it real by tearing power from the hands of the few and returning it back to the many. The time for choosing is here. The time for choosing is here. And this time we choose us or them. On that note, I'm going to take a short break, guys. Meditate and absorb on that. Free thinking, innovative, totally open-minded combination politics podcast substance. And let me know what you think. Let me know how we can do that together as a country, e pluribus unum, out of many one, like we did at the time of our formation, when we were so great. It was the only time we were great, guys, was the beginning. A republic, if we can keep it.
Where did you get that information?